it's Jen with Home by Jen, and thank you so much for tuning in for the weekly Busy Mom video cast. Today's topic is how to bring more handmade goodness into your life, and I am joined today with the amazing Jenny from domesticwildflower.com. So say hi, Jenny.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, I get asked lots of questions from my audience on so many different spectrums of homemaking, of organization, and things like that. And homemade things and like doing handmade things is something that comes up every once in a while. So I wanted to make sure that we got the expert in handmade goodness here with us, so you can share all of your genius with our audience. So
sure.
Can we start out by don't know who you are?
Yes. So I'm Jenny, and I blog at thedomesticwildflower.com, and there I share a variety of homemade and handmade food and craft tutorials and blog posts and courses. When I was in college, I worked at Joann Fabrics, and there I really had a really interesting experience. Every single day when I was cutting fabric and checking ladies out, customers would say to me, "Oh, you're so talented. Oh, I could never do that. Oh, I could never make that thing." Perfectly capable, smart, gifted moms, attorneys, CPAs, awesome women coming in with their families or their mothers or their, as parts of bridal parties or whatever, coming in to get craft supplies, believed with all their heart that they could not crochet a hat, that they could not sew their kid a Halloween costume, that they could not decorate a cake. All of those beliefs were totally bogus, okay? Those women are completely capable of doing those things themselves. Women today are no less capable than our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, right? And something has been lost, right, in a couple generations for lots of reasons. And it was just made very clear to me working there at Joann's that because I was raised in a really rural area in Northern California, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom for the first decade of my life, and I guess just the way I was raised was pretty different than the way most people are brought up. It made a really important impression upon me working there in a much bigger town. All these women every single day saying to me that they believe that they could not do things for themselves. So fast forward several years, I moved home, became a teacher. I'm an English teacher, and I got married and had my 2 small kids. And then I started my blog when my youngest child was 1. So I needed a creative outlet when he was sleeping. I knew who I wanted to write for and to help when I started my blog. I wanted to help that mom, that woman who believed that she couldn't make things for herself. And that is who my blog is for.
That's so awesome. When you said it triggered something in me when you said things were lost in a generation or two, and that is so right, because my great-grandmother was a product of the Depression, and my grandmother was born into the Depression.
Right.
And so my great-grandmother did everything, homemade everything. She sewed everything. Right. She baked everything. It was just everything was homemade. But my grandmother was the complete opposite, where she didn't cook very much. They ate out all the time. They, purchased the new car every 2 years. And then my mother was the opposite of my grandmother, where she was, teaching or doing everything by hand and trying to teach us to do everything by hand. So it's funny how that stuff works out.
Right. So So there's, big generational differences depending on where you grew up, which socioeconomic status you grew up in, what kind of lifestyle your mother led. I mean, the stuff really is matrilineal, generally. But I just really love helping beginners see that most of the time people think that handmade and homemade is really hard.
Or
and
takes
it's
a
not.
lot of time. Yeah.
Or it takes a ton of time or is dangerous, and it's not. So I guess that's like the teacher in me. I'm the oldest, so I'm naturally kind of teachery, I guess. I love helping beginners realize that it's really much easier than they think. And I don't teach anybody how to do anything hard. None of my recipes or none of my projects are many, many steps or many, many recipes. I'm all about easy. And I have 2 small kids too, and I work. I don't have time for, projects that take hours and hours. I'm all about super simple. So that's my passion. I love helping moms figure out how to do this the quick win or the easy win, at least.
Right, the quick win or the easy win, for sure. Because I mean, there's such a sense of gratification when, maybe you sew on that button that you didn't have to hire out for, or you were able, I mean, it could be small things, Absolutely. but it's huge that you didn't have to go drop it off at the dry cleaners to have, the button sewed back on or put a patch on, or you know what I mean? It's just like I think that's like look what I did. Like let's have a party over it.
There's all this talk about independent women and women power. But women are absolutely dependent upon all kinds of industries. If they cannot hem their own pants, mend their own garments, make simple foods for their families, if you can't do that for yourself, you're dependent on a lot of other people to do that for you. And I am not here to say that everything that my family consumes is homemade. It's not. And no judgment if that's where you are right now. I totally get it, right? No judgment at all. But if you are in that position where you are going out to someone else is feeding your family for you and someone else is clothing them, you're dependent upon them. But once you start making some of their clothes or making a baby blanket for a friend's shower or making one meal a week for your family, you are regaining some of that control, and that is so empowering. That is such a good feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
So empowering. Such an awesome way to have control and authorship over your life. It is such an awesome way to take control, I think. And once you learn how to do one thing, you very quickly will realize, oh, hey, that wasn't so hard. I can learn how to do another thing. And it doesn't take, I think there's this big myth that like in the 50s and 60s, marketers got housewives to believe, oh, this is so much easier if you go to the store and buy this prepackaged thing that's probably going to cause cancer and whatever else. And the whole convenience myth, I mean, we all are kind of inundated with marketing and whatever else to believe that if we buy or spend our money to do this store-bought thing to get this prepackaged solution, that it's going to be easier in the long run. But there's all kinds of costs and time associated with it. I always think about like the time that I'm going to spend to dispose of the garbage and the time it's going to take for me to go buy this disposable thing again and go to Costco again to go buy this other, you know what I mean? Right. Like that's a lot of time out of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's more costs associated with it than that one-time quick purchase.
Sure.
So I just love figuring out ways to help moms out there just cut one little thing, one little quick thing. Like if I can help you sew cloth napkins, so fun. Such a fun way to spend 30 minutes of your afternoon, and then you never have to buy paper towels.
That's true.
Everybody wins, right?
So let's talk about that. What are like 3 things that any mom, busy, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I think every mother is busy. I don't care if you work inside or outside the home. If you have 7 kids, if you have 1 kid, you're busy. You are raising another person, so I don't care who you are, you're busy. But
right.
What can they do that will help them start becoming more homemade or handmade? Like, what are some things that they could do?
So to me, there's kind of 2 paths you could sort of choose, okay? And there's the path that is a little bit more practical, that can also be therapeutic, is the food route, okay? And this is a little bit more practical because you have to eat. You should be eating 3 times a day, Mom, okay? You should be feeding yourself, and you have to feed other people. And you're probably trying to feed these little people some healthy food sometimes, okay?
Trying at least, yeah.
And they're probably picky. I got the most picky children in the world, and I'll eat anything. I mean, truth be told, I'm the least picky eater ever, and my kids are so picky. It's a terrible curse. So I totally feel you if that's you. So that can be one route that can really have a lot of daily satisfaction. If you can incorporate more homemade foods into your routine, you can reap the benefits financially, time saving, health-wise. A lot of moms out there are struggling with kids with allergies or food sensitivities or like mystery. I don't know what's wrong with my kid, but maybe it's food.
Right.
Or, maybe they're allergic to XYZ and trying to sort out what is causing this behavior or health issue. If you can make more food yourself, it is a lot easier to sort those issues out.
Absolutely.
So the homemade food path can be really satisfying in a immediate sense. And then the other path is in a meditative and creative and expressive, but also practical sense, is the handmade textile, knitting, crocheting, sewing, fiber arts route. So there's tons of research that proves that working with fibers and colors and crocheting and, tasks like that are wonderful for stress relief and do tons of wonderful things for lighting up both sides of the brain. And, if you can get into it, and if that is your mode of creativity, and you get a baby blanket out of it, and you get a set of baby booties or a throw blanket for your couch that your kids can snuggle up with, or whatever the case may be, or a new set of curtains for that bathroom that you wanted to make, or whatever the case may be, that can be both practical and really good for you. My first creative DIY love was sewing. My mom is a really gifted seamstress, and for her, when she was growing up, she was really poor growing up, but she always was able to wear really cute outfits because she could sew.
Nice.
So in my mind, I really equate being able to sew with being able to wear or have pretty things or have nice things, or being able to have like a nice duvet on your bed, or have nice curtains, or so for me, in my head, my emotional connection with fabric is really strong. But that's how I relate to fabric and stuff. And maybe for you that won't be the case, but for me, my me time, when I want to just relax after a long day, I might set the timer for 10 minutes. I might sew for 10 minutes when the kids go to bed. That's all it takes. And I've okay, well, now I feel better. I can take my shower.
That's awesome. Mine's baking. I love to bake. I love making bread and just having the, when you're kneading the bread and it's in your hands, and even if I'm really, really mad at something, it's like the bread comes out better because I really needed it that time.
Yes. And that's so wonderful that what that you have that task that you can do that helps you feel better. It's so important to identify that some people haven't found that thing for them yet.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
That's a real thing. That's a real problem.
Oh, absolutely.
You gotta find that thing, girl.
Yeah, right.
Whatever it is, you have to find it. Yeah,
I agree. And I think just trying out some things, it doesn't have to cost a lot. If if they want to just like buy a ball of yarn, I don't know what they're called, like a thing of yarn, but they're only a couple of dollars, and like a crochet hook or a couple of knitting needles, you know, I mean, you're in it for maybe under $10, and then you just go on YouTube and like hang out on YouTube and watch tutorials.
Right. I mean, so the textile thing can be a low time and low dollar investment, and like no one's waiting for dinner. There's no, the risk is really low and the investment is really low.
Yeah.
So like that can be a really fun way to try it out with a low risk. And I totally get like if people are hungry and, you know, you screw up dinner, the consequences can be very grave. I understand that.
It's like 45 minutes for the pizza delivery guy to show up, right?
Like World War III, right?
Exactly.
But like those are, to me, are the two different paths that I would encourage a person to test out. And like the rewards are great either way, but and I, you know what I mean? And I'm into both, obviously, but once you try out one, well, then maybe you'll try out a little of this, then a little of that. And I have found, like, once you're into one thing, well, then maybe I'll meet some gal who's really into cheese making over here, and then I'll make friends with someone who knows how to felt wool, and
oh gosh,
like get really cool things, and all of a sudden you're like one of those people who makes things. You become a maker,
right? And then they're like living off the grid and everything.
It's not that slippery of a slope, but
oh, good. Okay, good. I'm teasing. Well, okay, so I mean, all kidding aside, I mean, I think this is fantastic, but I think people might be thinking it's gonna look horrible, or it's gonna taste horrible, or you know what I mean? It's like that perfectionism part of the equation. So how can they just maybe like let it go? I mean, because that is so easier said than done, right?
That's a real point. Thank you for bringing that up, Jen. Okay, so I have a friend, a dear friend. She's very truly type A. She's a marathon runner. She graduated college in 3 years. She's a very driven person, and she asked me to teach her to crochet. And I'm a good teacher, and she's a smart girl. And teaching her to crochet was really hard, and it wasn't fun, and she wasn't naturally very good at it. And we made about that much of a scarf, and we both decided this is terrible. This isn't fun for anybody. And so she stopped. That is not her craft. It's okay that is not her craft. If crocheting makes you want to put the hook in your eye, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, there is nothing wrong with saying, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Okay? That's number one. If you try something out and you genuinely decide, this is not fun for me, this is not enjoyable, then it's okay with like putting the 6 inches of scarf in the garbage and moving on.
Right. Right.
If you kind of like the process and like, well, this looks terrible, but this is kind of fun. Okay, I would really, really encourage you. YouTube is great. Books are awesome, but I would encourage you to find a mentor. Find a friend. People who do craft, have a passion for anything, usually love to share it with someone else. People are dying to share their passion with someone else. They want to crochet all day long, or want to canning all day long. They want to share it with someone. So I would encourage you to seek out, via whatever mode you're interested in, someone who can show you in person.
Nice.
I wrote a blog post on my blog about, there's this really amazing outdoor quilt show in Sisters, Oregon. And I bring it up because going to an event, a show, or a meetup, or a store, or an event where people are doing the cool thing that you're interested in learning is the most inspiring thing ever.
You know, every so often I'll see something at Michael's where they'll have like a knitting club or a crocheting club. They have they even have like a painting club where people can like go and paint together.
So you don't have to know how to do those things to go. You can go and hang out and just be
Learn.
around people who are so enthused about this thing you would like to learn about. And you're probably going to end up sitting next to someone who would love to show you step zero.
Right.
Who would love to. I went to this, it's the largest outdoor quilt show in the world, and I quilt, and I probably will never be able to quilt like those people, but it was amazing. It was so inspiring.
Oh,
okay?
Awesome.
And I've been sewing since I was a teenager, and I can sew pretty well. But it doesn't matter. The level of inspiration can happen at any level. It can happen in any place. I really encourage you, no matter what your skill level is, even if you're just like, I don't really know the difference between knitting or crochet, and you can explore it. I encourage you to check it out.
That's so awesome.
Go to a class. You could just go check it out.
So, I mean, this is all great. Because it's like, finding a creative outlet and just letting go of perfectionism and just, just know that you'll get better, and you don't have to, you're not selling your stuff on Etsy, from the beginning. So, I mean, if you love it, great. Maybe you want to sell it on Etsy later on. But I know that they're probably wondering, so when am I going to find the time to do this? I've got kids running around the house. What am I going to do?
Right. So I think that you probably need to realize, you being anybody who's considering, I'd like to do more homemade, but I don't have time. I think that you need to understand that we all have been inundated, bludgeoned with marketing to make us believe that store-bought is faster. Okay?
Right.
So the underlying message there is that homemade is takes more time. Okay. So you probably don't even know how long homemade takes.
Oh, probably.
You probably have no idea if you've never done it. Okay. So let's just be real and understand we don't really know. You don't really know how long it'll take because you probably haven't done it. And understand that we have been really brainwashed to believe that it's just so much easier to buy it. It's so much easier. So much faster.
Right.
So that's step one, is believing that it probably isn't as fast as the stores are making you believe it is, and it's not going to take as long as you already are believing that it does. And then I think you need to choose projects wisely, as far as choosing projects that you can break into small pieces. Because, let's say you have small kids at home, everything needs to be accomplished during nap time.
Right.
So however long your kids are napping for, let's say, or however long your kids can play independently, or how long they can be semi-unattended for. 20 minutes? I mean, maybe your kids can nap for a lot longer and be unattended for a lot longer, but so I made a shower curtain not very long ago for my shower out of a vintage tablecloth. And I thought to myself, I want to do this. I need a new shower curtain. I hate the one I have. I had been wanting to do it for a long time. And I thought, okay, so when am I going to do this? And I had to think about it for a couple days. When am I going to have time to do this? I'll do it in the morning after they've had breakfast, when everyone's still happy. And I planned out, okay, well, I'll do it so that my little boy, I have a 3-year-old, he'll help me on the floor in the morning. He's still clean, so he can be on the tablecloth and not get it all grubby. You just have to kind of do a little mom thinking, a mom strategy of how they can participate in whatever thing you're doing. Okay. If it's a handmade thing, think about how they can be on a chair beside you before any cooking actually happens, before you get anything hot. If they can, have some measuring cups and spoons with some water and flour or salt or something beforehand. Think about how you can involve them too, so they're part of it. So it's in chunks. If you can break the project into smaller pieces, which I know, I'll fully admit, makes it take longer. I know, but that's mom life, right? Everything takes longer.
It does.
That's the game. Sorry, that's life.
Right.
So I made sure that I could. I had the tablecloth on the floor. So that, because I knew he was going to want to participate anyway, I could have put the tablecloth on the table to measure, but then the child's going to be on the table. So I just beat him and put it on the floor. And then I did my measuring on the floor. and I measured out where I was going to put the tabs. So the tabs are how I'm going to hang the hooks to hang it on the shower curtain.
Oh, yeah.
Help me. He had a color pencil, which wasn't going to mark on my fabric, right? So he was helping me as I was measuring, right? So, like, you moms all have all these mom strategies for how you get through the day doing things like this with your kids. You apply those same strategies to your homemade tasks too.
Love it. I love it. It's all about just being flexible and creative at the same time.
Yeah, you just got to dive in, unfortunately. And truth be told, you do have to choose projects that are ones that you can break into pieces. Like when I was very pregnant with my son, I started a quilt, and I thought, like, I had a child already, so I knew finishing it was going to take a really long time. Since I already had kids, I knew I wasn't going to have time. So I thought, I'll just set a timer every day, and I will sew on this for 10 minutes. I will give myself 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And some days I didn't get to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still not done, and that's okay. That's okay with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I can set the timer for 10 minutes to work on this. It's a really hard quilt, and it's very complicated. But it's fun for me, and it's my 10 minutes. And that's okay. Who cares if it takes 5 years? Who cares?
Right, that's true.
I don't care.
That's true.
It's me. It's my 10 minutes.
That's it. And I think I love that you just it's fine. You know, you just let it go, because I think that we set due dates on ourselves, and then we build up all of the stress in our life, and we're like, I got to get this done. But really, why? I mean, is somebody waiting for it at the end? So I guess just being okay with, if it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. But it's almost fun, like your therapy.
It absolutely is. And that's why you got to have, I think, and see, again, I'll fully admit, it's easier for me. I think I'm naturally kind of a type B person. Like, things are easier for me to be okay with. But if you're not naturally like that, I encourage you to work towards that, because life is not going to let you, I don't think, life with kids is not going to let you achieve due dates like that. Like, self-imposed, I'm going to get all these things done by these certain times. I don't know that life's going to let you do that.
That's a great point that you brought up. Because, I mean, I'm a very type A personality. I need things done the way that it needs to be done. It's like, there's a saying or a meme or something out on the internet, and it says, you should have just done it like Mom said the first time, Yeah. And it's kind of like the kind of how I was living my life, and I was like this ball of stress over it. I didn't let my kids put any dishes in the dishwasher because they would put them in wrong. Not that they put it in wrong, but it's like, it's wrong because I like to Tetris the dishwasher so we get, more bang for our buck.
Yes.
And I had a girlfriend over one day, and I was like, just put the dishes on the counter. I'll take care of it when you leave. And she's like, no, I'll just put it in. I'm like, I have a system. She said, Jen, seriously, why don't you just redo it when nobody's looking? And it was like, you know what? When she said that, I was able to let it go. At that point, it was like, yeah, I can just reload the dishwasher when nobody's looking. It's fine. So that's when I started letting my kids put dishes in the dishwasher, which I know it sounds weird, but
many people who are listening can relate.
Yeah, exactly. So any of those type A's that are listening, just redo it when nobody's looking. It's fine.
Or you can work towards realizing it's okay if you don't get quite as many plates in. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Just wash it by hand. Yeah, exactly. And that's, just being okay. Because you have to really think of, like, is tomorrow going to happen? Probably is going to happen if that dish doesn't get into the dishwasher. Right.
And then, like, circling back to the whole homemade thing, like, when you make it yourself, it's never going to be perfect.
No.
there's nothing about homemade that is perfectly standard, and maybe that's why I turned out the way I am, I think, because nothing about homemade is cookie cutter, right? Like the shower curtain I made, there was no way it was going to be perfect no matter what, because it's really old and it's a little bit crooked, and there's like a faded spot in the corner. It's a beautiful, amazing vintage print, and it's completely unique. No one has a shower curtain like it. It matches my paint perfectly. It's awesome.
Oh, nice.
But it's not perfect.
But who comes in and measures, and is like, "Ooh, that's the thing." It's like
nobody.
So
does. Like, you have to be okay with the trade. Like, the satisfaction of doing things yourself and the fun you got from doing it and the money you save and the time you save and showing your kids that you can do things for yourself.
Yeah.
That trade-off of having it be perfect, I don't know who perfect benefits. That trade,
anyone.
Nobody. That trade is something you have to be okay with. And it's one, that trade is awesome for me, and one that you can work on.
Oh, I love that. I do. I'm telling you, like, I have a few aha moments here that I think I'm going to be implementing into my life.
Good.
So thank you so much for bringing that to my life.
Good.
So I was going to kind of ask about, what homemade or handmade things can do for busy moms, but I think we covered that, where it's like therapy and
sure,
and also teaching your kids something and not,
sure,
relying on the store always.
Yeah, I blog a lot about canning on my blog, and canning is one thing that I think has a really bad rap as being a super time-consuming thing in the kitchen that isn't, and as being something that's dangerous that isn't, and as being super old-fashioned that isn't, and it's something that saves me a ton of time as a busy mom.
Love it.
And canning is a way of preserving food in jars, so it is shelf stable for up to a year. So I just think that it is a way for a mom to cook in advance. So, you know how there's like all this hype about Instant Pots, and like, oh, they make cooking so fast, and it's
right
like that, but even better, because you can have it like in a jar ready.
Right.
Months and months and months.
Totally.
So it has saved me so much time as a mom, so that whatever's going on in my crazy busy day, I'm a teacher, I can come home and grab a jar of tomato sauce that I canned months ago, crack it open and pour it on top of some pasta, and there's dinner. And not only is it delicious, I have no concern about what's in it. I don't have to worry about, is there added sugar? Is there stuff that's going to give me a migraine? Is there like scary chemicals that I don't want my kids eating? It's like still a vegetable.
Oh yeah, exactly. Totally.
It's just such a time saver. And it's just one of those things that I think a lot of moms have forgotten about, that, or don't think is even an option as far as incorporating as a time saving tool in their cooking routine.
Yeah, well, and you bring up such a huge point, because my daughter is allergic to dairy, so I have to read labels all the time. I have to be super diligent. And I have purchased marinara sauce at the grocery store thinking it was just fine. Not even, this was, a while ago, before I became super diligent, and when she was first diagnosed, and I would buy marinara sauce not thinking that they put cheese in it. And it was like, we have this marinara sauce. And then you would open it, or it didn't have cheese in it, and you'd open it and it was just like this sweet, sugary marinara sauce. And it's like, oh, this is gross. And then, so, I think having, like your own ready preserved. So let's like transition into your steam canning, because I am sold on steam canning. I think it's amazing and such a huge time saver. So I'd love to talk about that.
Sure. So steam canning is Well, the steam canning is a newly approved way of doing what you might remember Granny doing. Mm-hmm. So the steam canner pot is a pot that's been around a while. You could have purchased one. They've been available for several years. But in late 2015, they were approved by the USDA and a couple different university systems for home use. That means they were proven with science to be safe. To preserve foods the same way that Granny did, like the same science behind them, but way faster. So they use the heat of steam instead of the heat of boiling water to preserve foods. So old school style of canning, the way Granny did, you'd have to wait for this really big pot of water to come to a boil, and that took like 35 minutes, give or take, and weighed about right. And it weighed like 35 pounds. Okay. Yeah. This pot weighs about 8.5 pounds when it's full of water with a lid, 8 pounds, 8.5 pounds. And it comes to a boil in 5 minutes.
Love it.
So canning in it's like one extra step as opposed to many extra steps. Okay. So it can be just like an extra extension of the time you're already spending in the kitchen. So it's like, to me, it is a natural way to add a really key time-saving step to a modern, busy mom's routine. Mm-hmm. So modern canning can be small batch, doesn't have to be 150 pounds of tomatoes the way it used to be.
Right.
You can do that much at once if you want. But it can be a small batch. It can be really sophisticated and really awesome recipes that you would be you would be like the belle of the ball if you brought to the next cocktail party. It can be a really fun and easy, fast experience. It doesn't have to be the way Granny did. It can be way faster. And steam canning is, I think, the hot ticket for a busy mom because it can be so much faster than the way you are imagining Granny doing it.
Right. Well, and I've canned in the past, and I've, lost jars while canning because it like boils and then the glass jar breaks, and then you've got this pot full of glass and applesauce or tomatoes, whatever, or maybe it's jam. It just like floating everywhere, it's just like super gross. And in this one, I mean, you have less fatalities. I call them fatalities, but it's like, it's hard work, man.
Well, yeah, and if the goal is a jar of jam and you don't end up with a jar of jam, well, then that is a bummer, right? If your goal is to save time and you're not saving time, you're less inclined to do it in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the steam canning is really, like, it's like very puzzling to me why the whole world is not going crazy over steam canning yet, because it is such a time saver. It's amazing. Can up, like if I spent an hour and a half, I could probably can, and you could too, anybody could can probably 25 or 30 jars of tomato sauce, and that would last you probably
all year
long.
Mm-hmm.
Like a jar a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Pasta sauce, or tomato sauce, but it really, really goes really quickly. So, like, just as a point of reference, canning is just like you would cook whatever thing you're cooking, like salsa or jam or like pickled vegetables or dilly beans or applesauce, or you can like really sophisticated things like pickled pearl cherries, or like salsa verde, or all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And you put it in a jar, and then you put it in this pot, the special pot. It's called a steam canner, and you turn the timer on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then you turn the pot off, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So you're just putting this food in this jar, and you put it in this other pot, and turn the timer on, and then that's all that.
And that preserves it for up to a year, which is awesome.
Yeah. That's it. That's all there is. There's no apocalyptic boiling water, no old faithful. It's just really I mean, I think boiling water canning, it's not hard, but there are more steps.
Well, and it takes so much longer, and then you know, it's a lot of work.
There is more. It's more. It's definitely
and it's more expensive because you have to purchase all of these other things, you know, like the tongs and the.
There's just a little bit more to it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's undeniably a little bit more, but the steam canner makes it a lot easier, and it really would be ideal, I think, with the population of people who are living in either like an RV or traveling in a sailboat or like alternative living. If you were in a tiny home, cooking on propane, it would be so ideal for those alternative situations. Be really handy in that, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure, sure. So let everybody know how they can learn more about your steam canning, because I know that you teach everybody how to steam can. So that's amazing.
So I have a PDF that we will be able to grab a link for to download.
Yeah, we'll have a button. There's a button below this that you can just click, and we'll email it to you.
Perfect. And it's like a mini resource guide, and it'll tell you all the details about steam canning, and there's an equipment checklist to tell you everything you would need to get started with steam canning. And I also have a course, a video course that teaches you all about steam canning and shows you, it's just like being in the kitchen with me, showing you how to preserve foods with steam canning. And in the course, I show you how to make pickled pearl onions, and there's a bunch of other recipes I demonstrate, but that's one that comes to mind. That's my favorite, on fried eggs. And I show you how to make cranberry lemon jam, and that's actually a kind of a technical recipe where you boil the whole Meyer lemon, and I show you how to preserve those, process those lemons in 2 different ways so they are perfectly smooth. No picky kids will object to that jam. And in that course, you'll just learn how to use and maximize the time-saving benefits of the steam canner. So you'll be able to can pretty much anything that you attempt. And I have a coupon code for you. The code will be also below.
Yes. Well, I'll have all of that information.
Right. Home by Jen 10.
Yes.
That's the code. Home by Jen 10. So hopefully I will see you guys in the course.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, thank you so much. I mean, I hope that, I mean, I learned a lot today, and I hope that other people have learned some things and are going to be inspired to, like, you know, pick up those, you know, cards that they were thinking that they were gonna
craft and
exactly, create, and maybe they want to send out like thank you cards to people and they wanted to make them, or they've always wanted to learn how to make scarves, or they you know, there's gonna be a baby in the family and they want to make booties or something like that. So I mean, I think that is amazing.
love that. I'm all about that.
Yeah. Well,
thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
thank you so much for spending your time with us. And yeah, so you can I'll have your website linked below, and they can download the checklist also. And I'll have the coupon code available below too, so everybody can learn all about steam canning and you and what you do, and inspire them to bring more homemade goodness into their lives. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we will be back next week with somebody else. So thank you guys so much, and have an amazing weekend.